Well, welcome to Christian Answers. This is Pastor Jeff Short, your Bible teacher and cultural analyst. And today we're going to be covering a report that just came out. And that was covered by Albert Mohler on his daily briefing episode. And we're going to go through an article by Albert Mohler about this report that talks about the abortion pill. Now, we've heard about the abortion pill for many, many years. For decades, actually, pro-life Christians have fought against the abortion pill, and it is now ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's legal, and it is a real problem because it is circumventing state laws against abortion. So you can have states against abortion. You can have all the abortion clinics shut down in these states, and still hundreds and thousands of women in these states are still having abortions because they're able to get access to the abortion pill, either through the mail or through delivery or all kinds of different devious ways to get around the laws in these states since the Obergefell decision, or the Dodd's decision, the Obergefell was the so-called gay marriage, the Dodd's decision that overturned Roe v. Wade by the Supreme Court. So there are all these clever, satanic, evil ways of circumventing the laws to get abortion pills into the hands of women who are seeking to kill their baby. Well, let's look at the article here, and I'll talk about it because this is a really troubling topic, because it basically says you can have a state outlaw abortion everywhere within the state, and still these abortion people will get abortions performed in the state by the woman herself. So these are ways of getting around, breaking the law, actually, in some cases, because the states are trying to find ways that they can make sure that this does not happen. But babies are being killed in this very scheming, conniving way. So let's get into the article right here. It says, the truth about the abortion pill, the deadly danger and effects of the abortion pill revealed in a new study by the EPPC. So he goes into talking about the study that was just done by a major Washington think tank, the Ethics and Public Policy Center. And the title of it was Abortion Pill Harms Women. And the basic gist of the study is showing that the data that is being relied upon presently is out of date, and that a lot of the complications and harms from taking these pills are not being told the women, and they're going ahead and having these abortions thinking that they're very, very safe, when in fact there are all kinds of complications and side effects that happen that can cause problems to the health of the woman. Of course, the health of the baby is always at risk in these pills because its intention, the pill's intention, is to kill the baby. It says that Albert Mohler says, well, what we now know is that the abortion rights movement was using a very small sample of outdated information and was pressing politically on the powers that be, especially after the Dobbs decision, to legalize medication abortion pill, out of the declaration that the nation faced an abortion and healthcare emergency. So there was a lot of overreaction by the pro-abortion side and a lot of pressure put on politicians to legalize this abortion pill and provide it widely. Now, the study was done by Jamie Bryan Hall, Director of Data Analysis, and it's also released by Ryan T. Anderson, the President of the Ethics and Public Policy Center. And it talks about the information that was being peddled by the pro-abortion proponents and how it's not accurate and how it really makes a big difference in how they use this to propagandize. It says that In the aftermath of the Dobbs decision reversing Roe v. Wade in 2022, there was an immediate rush with political urgency coming from the abortion rights movement to legalize, standardize, and popularize the use of abortion pill. Thus, basically doing a go-around when it comes to the Roe v. Wade decision. Now that it has reversed by Dobbs, the sense that there is no 50-state guaranteed national federal right to an abortion. So the activists really saw an opportunity here with this abortion pill to basically erase the Roe v. Wade decision, a reversal. So what happened a few years ago was the Supreme Court ruled that Roe v. Wade was unconstitutional. So the pro-abortion side said, okay, well, here's our reaction. We're going to push abortion pills, and you're going to get abortion pills all over the place. We're going to tell women if you can't get abortion pills in your state, you can have them delivered to your door through the U.S. mail, and you can take the abortion pill in the privacy of your own home, and then you can have your abortion and move on with your life. Now, here's a really diabolical aspect of what has happened, and that is what Mohler calls the culture of death gloats. Historian brags about how abortion advocates expand abortion even after the fall of Roe v. Wade. So these people are so evil and so wicked and so sinful that even after the Roe v. Wade decision was overturned, they have decided that they're going to double up their efforts to make sure abortions continue or even increase. Yes, even increase. The article goes on and talks about how abortion has actually, the numbers have gone up since the Roe v. Wade decision was reversed. You would think because there are states now that can regulate abortion and even ban it, that there would be thousands and thousands less abortions because these states have made it illegal. But no, because of the push of the pro-abortion side and the abortion pill, abortions overall have actually gone up. What an evil, wicked situation that we see ourselves. The devils, the demons have upped their game, you might say, and gone the extra mile and pushed harder into the pro-death culture. Let's read on here. It says, but I want to take just a little bit further because it's not only a demonstration of how the culture of death works, that is, that sinful, evil reaction against a righteous law. You know, the Supreme Court did a very righteous and good and holy thing when they abolished Roe v. Wade and sent it back to the states. And the pro-abortion liberal Democrats, leftists, decided, okay, if that's what you're going to do in a righteous cause, we're going to take our evil cause further. And we're going to push abortion pills. And we're going to actually push that women have abortions and perform the abortion themselves. So this is not just doctors killing babies in an abortion clinic. This is women killing their own baby in the home, in the bathroom, flushing their baby down the toilet. It's awful. It's terrible. And yet that's the culture of death and how that works. It's also a revelation of how the culture of death gloats, or you might say gets in your face and celebrates. I want to point you a piece that just ran a matter of days ago at Washington Monthly. That's pretty much inside baseball political journal, has a lot of influence. Washington Monthly has run an article by Carrie N. Baker. She is the professor of American Studies and chair of the program for the study of women and gender at Smith College. She is the author of a book entitled Abortion Pills, U.S. History and Politics. The piece that contributed to the Washington Monthly is a demonstration of the culture of death, not only smiling its dark smile, but gloating. Here's the headline: How reproductive freedom advocates outsmarted the anti-abortion movement. So you get that, outsmarted the anti-abortion movement. She's really celebrating the fact that because Dodd's Dobbs was the Supreme Court decision that reversed Roe v. Wade. So the anti-life, pro-death side said, okay, well, we'll one-up you. We'll give these women pills that they can kill their own babies. And in some, her argument is to how the pro-abortion advocates outsmarted, that's her word, it's at least the word in the headline, outsmarted the pro-life movement. It comes down to the pill, the abortion pill. That's how it was done. And the increase in abortion is something that is here celebrated. So this author in this Washington Monthly is celebrating the fact that now abortion is more prevalent than before Roe v. Wade was reversed. Roe v. Wade was the Supreme Court decision that basically legalized abortion in all 50 states. And when that was reversed, you would think, okay, well, abortions must come down, right? This is a good thing. This is a righteous thing. The death of babies is going to be curtailed, at least in some states, you would think, right? Overall, the numbers would go down. But then look at this. The second paragraph of this article begins this way. While 160 women obtained abortions through the medical system in 2020, before this reversal of Roe v. Wade, that number grew to 1,033,740 in 2023, the first time in more than a decade. She writes that the number of abortions exceeded 1 million. This is after Roe v. Wade was reversed, after the pro-life victory, after Christians had been praying for the end of Roe v. Wade. After that it was accomplished, then the abortions exceeded 1 million. So instead of making the abortions overall go down, it evidently spurred these demons and devils to work harder to make sure that abortions went up the next years. She says in 2024, the number rose to 1,038,000, a 4% increase over 2023. So the abortions are going up. And she points out that this is true even in a pro-life state like Mississippi. She says in Mississippi, the state that brought us Dobbs, the case overturning Roe v. Wade, the number of those obtaining abortions from inside the medical system climbed from 2,850 in 2020, that's before Dobbs, to 3,305 in 2023. After Dobbs, a 16% increase, she writes, in just 3 years. These numbers do not include abortions occurring outside the medical system, estimated to be more than 100,000 since 2022. That is illegal outside of the offices of the abortion clinics or outside of any official counting. So there are these, you might call them amateur abortions. I don't even want to think about what happens in those places because you have probably unsanitary conditions. You have all kinds of amateurs operating on women and so on and so forth. So she's saying that is probably 100,000 since the reversal of Roe v. Wade. And then you have the overall number of abortions increasing officially. And what's the cause of that? The abortion pill. She points to the development and availability of telehealth abortions. Telehealth, that is Skype abortions, where you have a doctor sitting there talking to a woman who wants to kill her baby. And he's going to help her facilitate that. And he doesn't even have to be in the same state. He could be in a totally different state way across the country. Telehealth during especially the conditions of the pandemic and all kinds of misbehavior, all kinds of horrible policy was made during the pandemic, and what was declared to be a medical emergency, at least a part of that medical emergency was that the claim that because of the restrictions under COVID, the government should lessen restrictions on abortion pill, among other things, by the way. That was under Joe Biden, who lessened the restrictions on abortion pills. So they made this available to pretty much anybody who wanted it. And it did so. And of course, on the other side of it, you know how things worked out. it stays pretty much the same or gets worse. In this case, it gets worse. She writes, and I quote, "The primary reasons for the expansion of abortion access despite state bans are the advent of telehealth abortion during the pandemic and the development of community support networks that provide free abortion pills to individuals living in restrictive states." So these are clever, cynical, evil, diabolical, conniving ways to get around state laws against abortion, against killing babies. So you have these groups that are in states that have abortion that's illegal. And they're going to say, well, we're going to stock up on these abortion pills, and then we're going to give them out to women who want to kill their baby. You see the go around? They're not hiding this. This is actually bragging about it. She goes on to state this: inside the medical system, women in states with bans are accessing telehealth abortion from providers in 8 states: California, Colorado, Maine, Massachusetts, New York, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington. Now get this, that have telehealth provider shield laws allowing clinicians to serve those seeking abortions no matter where they are in the U.S. So these ultra-liberal, pro-abortion, pro-death, ultra-death states controlled by Democrats and liberals, they are reaching out. And we saw this in California with Gavin Newsom when he actually advertised to women saying, hey, if you want to have an abortion, come to our state and you can get them here. Travel here. Just inviting women to kill their babies in his state. But they don't even have to travel, though, now, because they can order these pills from some liberal leftist state, and the doctors will send through the mail. And then she points out to the advocacy organizations that are not only helping to make it available, but who are also paying for it. So they're not even just allowing access to abortion, they are funding abortion. These people want to kill babies so bad that they're going to pay for that death. And the woman just has to bring herself and her baby to her bathroom and take the pills and flush the baby down the toilet. It's awful. It's terrible. Many seeking abortions are now obtaining pills outside of the medical system from community support networks. Again, that tells you exactly what's going on, and this is not some right-wing claim that the pro-abortion movement is doing. This is a statement by the movement crowing about how effective their efforts to go around restrictions on abortions have now been. And they're so deadly effective simply because the pill, and also because of the political agenda behind the pill, complicity by the Food and Drug Administration under Biden, and the active intervention of liberal states with these shield laws preventing persons from being prosecuted for, let's say, by telehealth, treating a woman in a state that has a restrictive laws on abortion, and thus just going around the right and power of that state to restrict abortion. So you have the reversal of Roe v. Wade. Abortion is no longer a national right imposed on all the states. You now have the situation after Roe v. Wade's reversal a few years ago, where there are restrictions placed on abortion by states, some outright bans, but these liberal activists are circumventing the laws and saying we are going to provide abortion for women no matter what, even if we have to talk to them via Skype or Zoom calls on their smartphones or laptops, and we are going to send them the pills and chemistry to do their own abortion and then follow up on them afterwards. So we're going to intervene in a state that prohibits abortion. We're going to intervene and facilitate an abortion. That is evil. That is evil. It is also instrumental to the argument made by the abortion rights advocates, and I'm going to put Professor Baker at the top of that list with this article. She makes this claim: these new avenues to abortion, both inside and outside the medical system, work so well because the two medications used for abortion, mifepristone and misoprostol, are 97.4% effective and safer than Tylenol. Well, there it is, safer than Tylenol. And look at the numbers, 97.4 effective, except it's not. And that's what this big study has shown, this recent study. The EPP study released yesterday makes very clear that the actual risk is a multiple of that. And we're talking about very serious medical complications. So not only are they doing evil and circumventing the laws of these states, they're lying and deceiving women in these states. That's just satanic. Most of them related one way or another to the difficulty of expelling the tissue of unborn human beings in the womb, and thus some form of sepsis, which can be a very, very dangerous situation for a woman indeed. So they're trying to do these abortions from a distance, these doctors and abortion advocates, and the women are running into complications, but those complications are not reported accurately. So the images, these are safer than Tylenol, 97% effective, but that is a lie. Professor Baker's article ends by citing Elisa Wells, the co-founder and director of one of the programs, saying, "Abortion pills are here to stay. Community distribution networks and overseas providers will remain intact, and abortion pills will continue to come into the country." So there are countries where these pills are manufactured. China, for example, and they come from overseas into the United States and kill American babies. Now, that's a brilliant plan of the communist China, right? You flood the market in the United States with abortion pills that you manufacture in China, and you not only make money for China, but you kill Americans. Yes, you kill thousands, millions of Americans. Brilliant, diabolical, satanic plan of communist China to provide abortion pills. So there you see the culture of death is not just the national organizations and others trying to overcome restrictions adopted by some states. It's also the effort to go all the way around even national borders in terms of access to abortion pill. It shows you that in the culture of death just never rests. It is never satisfied. It's going to press on according to its agenda, and it's going to crow about it. That's the amazing thing. This is not something being done out of sight and hidden. This is now being bragged about, boasted, and about by the pro-abortion movement. And there's also this Professor Baker's article. I also have her book, Abortion Pills, U.S. History and Politics, and it was published just last year by Amherst College Press. And this is how she concludes the book. Surprisingly, states did not criminalize self-managed abortion in the first 2 years after Dobbs, and no one using pills in early pregnancy has been arrested or prosecuted as of August 2024. So the legislation that was adopted by these states after the reversal of Roe v. Wade made a mistake. They forgot the abortion pill itself. And so by that oversight, the pro-death, pro-abortion side was able to exploit that mistake and now provides abortions in these restricted states. So this tells you again, it's not only the fact that the pro-abortion movement was pressing for the availability of the pill, taking advantage of the context of COVID-19 and pandemic to press for lessen restrictions using outdated information, just pressing the case. It's not just that they did that. It's also the case that the pro-life movement and the pro-life legislators were behind the ball. Yes, we got hoodwinked. At least in part, in understanding what was going on in the states, have not been effective in restricting availability of these pills. So there's going to have to be a smarter strategy than just simply reversing Roe v. Wade and passing anti-abortion laws in these states to save lives of children. It's going to have to go beyond that and saying, okay, what will be the next thing that the evil liberal Democrat pro-abortion culture of death people, what will they do? And we need to know what they're going to do. It's hard to imagine that the pro-life strategists could have been this blindsided. But then this sentence is how she ends the entire book. The future was uncertain, but advocates have made safe abortion much more widely available than before Roe, and in some respects, even during Roe. So the pro-abortion side, the culture of death, they have made strides, greater strides than even before. Let that sink in for a moment. She's making the claim that not only was this a go-around after the Dobbs decision, it was so effective go-around for the culture of death that the abortions now arguably is more widely available than it was even under the protections of Roe. So as Christians, we prayed year after year. We went to the March for Life in January, year after year. We protested abortion hospitals year after year. And now we have some states that have actually banned the evil, sinful practice of abortion outright. And yet, some of those same states have more abortions now than before. How can that be? Because the other side pressed the battle stronger. And they outsmarted, in many cases, the Christians who were writing the laws of these states banning abortion. Christians need to understand, first of all, what is going on here. The culture of death is so effective in pressing for its aims by stealth and by using every opportunity, lies and deceptions also. I think the opening acknowledgement here is that the pandemic provided such an opportunity. It wasn't really completely understood when it happened. In retrospect, that's exactly what they were doing. They seized the opportunity, but it also requires the complicity of others, and that includes, most importantly, regulators. So they had all these different avenues, and at the center of the concern is the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. And with the release of this kind of information, we need political action. We need concerted political action. We need a remedy. We need to pressure on FDA, and the FDA needs a lot of pressure to force it to reconsider what this evidence indicates was a very ill-advised decision to lessen the restrictions on the abortion pill, and the political context is now far better understood. The numbers are going to have to be confronted. The FDA needs to answer for this. So this is really sad. This is really sad because what we thought was a victory, and it was a victory of sorts when Roe v. Wade was reversed, but now we're finding out that the other side just fought smarter and fought harder while we were probably thanking God and celebrating and praising the Lord that the national abortion imposition was removed. And we thought we were getting the upper hand for a while, but as it turned out, the devil, the demons, just did an end around. And so now there are actually more abortions taking place in the United States than before. And this is a defeat. This is a step backwards. And we need to pray by the grace of God that we can get back in the battle and we can defeat the enemy, because the enemy has really outsmarted us in a sense, and we need to pay better attention and not allow this to happen again. Hope that's been a helpful information. We'll talk to you later. God bless.